advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine.
Hello.
Hello.
We,
We,
I
I
you. I
you,
did
I did
thing,
thing,
not
not
one
one.
thing. They're
They're
working
working
to make
to make
sure we
sure we
get
get
going.
going.
Y'all
Y'all
just be
just be
patient with me
with
for
me
just
for
a
just
minute.
a
I
minute.
promise you, we have some wonderful information for you. Mm, Didn't touch a thing. They can hear me. All right. Um, Myra says there's an echo. Well, y'all get to look at us for a while. Look at me for a while. Hmm. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. We're going on faith. Phone. Okay. Okay, y'all. Welcome to Ask Elaine. This is your voice, Commissioner Elaine Lucas, welcoming you to the show. We've got some technical things going on here, but I promise you we have a wonderful show. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors. We'd like to thank all of you who have tuned in, those who are on AM, those who are on FM, and who are here on Facebook Live. Want to thank Myra, Shirley Lester. Um, okay, Echo is gone. we depend on people to tell us how we're sounding because we can't hear a thing here. But we always have such wonderful folks, loyal people who tune in. Um, we want to again express our condolences to the Glover family in the loss of one of their queens, evangelist Arletta Glover Brown. We were at that service on Saturday. It was a fitting homegoing celebration. We want to welcome Pastor Lisa. Thank you so much for tuning in. We know that that was your uh, evangelist Brown was your godmother, and we were there not just for ourselves, but also as your friend. And so we want to thank you for your loyalty. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening at the Martin Luther King board meeting, and we're very proud that you serve on that. We understand, Pastor, that the niece, Rosa Parks' niece, was here in Macon, down in Rosa Parks Square today. I missed that, but that was just a wonderful thing for Macon. I know the mayor and Pastor Fickling um, greeted them. And so we want to say hello to Mr. Cotton. He's always here with us, and we're going to have him on as a special guest, one of our guest hosts, very soon. Um, I I'm I cannot hear myself. Normally, I can hear. Um, we have two guests today. One is my sister, businesswoman, the cake lady, Beverly Huckabee, who lives in Jackson. And many of you have been privileged to enjoy her pastries, or especially her cakes, her wedding cakes. But many of you also know that she has done credit counseling in a number of settings with federal government and other places. So she is going to be joining us. We also want to welcome our other special guest, who's none other than the executive director of the Better Business Bureau, Mr. Kelvin Collins. And you'll see both of them very shortly, just as soon as um, these genius engineers get us get us up and going. Um, but we want to welcome them here, and as you might think, we're going to be talking about scams. Welcome, Susan Smith, to Ask Elaine. We're going to be talking about scams. Just recently, um, I received a letter from the SBA, and so what? Why am I getting this letter from the SBA? And the letter said it's now time for you to start paying on the loan, the SBA loan that you received. Is it? Oh, I don't know, y'all. We're it's in now. Okay. All right. It was me, y'all. I'm sorry. It was me. It was me. I plead the fifth. If Trump can plead it 450 times, I think I can plead one time. I just think one time. Are we going to be able to get every the other our guests up on? We're going to get them. Okay, all right. But anyway, I got this letter from SBA, y'all, and it said you have this loan with us, and there was no date on it or anything. It just said it was time to start paying. And I said, I've been doggone. I don't have an SBA loan. We had one years ago to start the school, but that's been paid off since 2017, and that's paid in full. And so I went in, and it had some information, said to contact, you had to set up a portal account and all of that. I did all that. And then there was a form to fill out. I filled that out and sent that in. And then I got some correspondence back that said, now your ID wasn't clear, so you got to send that back in, your driver's license or passport or whatever. And you also got to file a police report. Well, or you got to file a report with Secret Service or SEC or FD. Hey, it was a lot of TCs and all of that stuff. I I went to the police department and I filed the police report. By this time, the average person would be really, really ticked off. But I was determined that I was not going to pay for something that I had not taken out. It was $4,700. And so I sent all that stuff in, and I did receive a letter back, a response back that said, "We have removed you from any responsibility for this. We're assured that you did not take out this loan." But they said, "Well, we can't tell you what ongoing legal or criminal activities are going on. We can't tell you what's going on with that." In other words, they're going to track it down and find out who got that $4,700. They just know it wasn't me. But just think of all the folks who um, maybe can't use computer, don't have the computer access, don't have the patience or whatever to go through all of that and to clear themselves. It's just, there are just always some people, crooks, trying to take from you. So that was an experience. And there was another time I had to change my uh, checking account numbers. I had to change all of those. Those things. That's a lot of trouble. So we thought that we would have a show today that would give you some insight into what's going on out there, what people are doing to try and cheat you, and then what you can do. Pastor Lisa, scammers. That's right. We have Janelle Mathis, who has joined us. Sherry Shannon Miller has joined us. Sharon Talton. We just we're just so happy to have you there, and we know that you will gain from this information. Mr. Engineer, we're going to get Beverly up. Yeah, pardon. They're working on it. Before we talk with Mr. Collins, um, I found something on Facebook that I want to share with you. It was posted on here by Mr. Daryl Moore Sr. And he writes, "Because this needs to be said, co signing is not a small favor. Quit asking people to do that because they take responsibility just like you. If you ask them to co sign, they take on responsibility. Those extra rooms you see in people's houses are for visiting, not for you to live in for free or long term. Somebody's good job is not your meal ticket. Stop getting mad when they don't live up to the expectations of them taking care of you. How someone spends the money they earned is not any of your concern, nor is it any of your business. When your age reaches over 18 years, your parents are not your financial supporters anymore. It is not okay to spend all your money having fun and expect the one who sacrificed and saved to make sure you're not hungry. If you don't have a car and ask for a ride, gas isn't free. If a person seems to have more than they need, work as hard as they have if you want to be like them. If you borrow money from someone, make sure you pay it back. And don't try, I'll have to add, don't try to avoid the person. You come down the street, they go around the corner and stuff like. And some people, have the nerve, they have borrowed money from you and they never mention it again. Like they don't remember they owe you and like you forgot that they owe you. I'm not going to name names, but there's some folks that owe some people. You need to pay them. And don't act like you don't remember that you owe them because you do. And then the last thing on here is don't take the ones who love you for granted because it's not a good feeling. Not a good feeling. You like those?
I do.
You like those? All right. Are we going to get Mr. Collins on the screen with me? This folks going to have to give me a whole nother hour show. I know they don't want to do that, but they're going to. All right, Pastor Lisa says, Mama said, if you borrow anything, always pay it back. All right, the engineers are working. They're working. There's some little things going on, but they're working, and we do appreciate them. There's some people you don't mess with. That's the folks who are preparing your food, the folks who are doing your show and you don't know anything about the equipment. And what's the other one, Pastor? Well, hey, Steve Bryant. Hello. Welcome to Ask Elaine. And that other one, oh, the nurses. Don't you don't make the nurses or doctors upset. Change if you have to. Just change. Get you somebody else, but don't make them mad, and don't make folks mad of fooling around with your food. And then I've added this third one, the engineers. Okay. Um, yeah. Oh, Pastor Lisa said those fixing your hair, they'll jack you up. They will. That's right. That's a good one, Pastor. All right. Now, Mr. Collins, they can't see you, but they can hear you. Someone from Medicare. First of all, thank you so much for making yourself available. And I don't know whether Beverly is on or not. Is Beverly connected? Is she is she on? Um, we might end up having to do um, um, still working on it. Almost there, they say. Okay, that's great. We're going to go ahead with some talk, and then we'll try and get everybody in before the end of the show. And then we've got DA Nita Reynolds Howard on next week, but we might need to have a portion of that to finish what we didn't get done today. Um, we're going to get the guests on. The engineers are working on this. Yeah, they owe me some time. All right, Mr. Collins. Someone from Medicare calls and says that they are concerned that someone is using your Medicare number for their own purposes. So they need your Medicare number to verify payments. Should you provide the information?
That is a hard no. When someone calls you and they tell you that they are calling from Medicare, Social Security, the IRS, chances are those are not the agencies that are calling you.
Hmm.
And used to, you could depend on caller ID, but now caller ID is so easy to spoof.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it says they're calling from Social Security or whomever, if you question whether or not this is who's really calling you, look the number up and call that number back. Don't
Hmm.
give any information to someone unless you initiate that call. That's how they get Medicare numbers, and they'll end up you'll get back braces delivered to you and
Oh, my.
knee braces and things like that you
Yeah.
didn't order, but your Medicare will be billed for it.
Uh huh.
So there's some things like that. I did want to say thank you for having me.
Thank
It's
you for
great to
being
be on
here.
here, and if everyone could see the scurrying going around with the
They're
engineers,
working.
they're really working hard to
Yeah,
get everything on.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're just so happy to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself before I go through some more of these situations where people get scammed.
Well, I've been in Macon for just over 20 years. I started at the BBB here in April 2002, and my wife and two sons are Maconites now. I've
Mm-hmm.
got I don't have two kids any longer. I've got a 29-year
Yeah.
old
Oh, yeah.
and a 25-year
They
old.
grow
So
up so fast.
yeah, I've got one's a physical therapist and one is just just past the bar. So
Uh huh.
he's a
Uh
lawyer
huh.
now.
Uh huh.
And my wife, she's a nurse,
Uh huh.
and we ended up in Macon. It was supposed to be a small stop for us because I came from the Better Business Bureau of North Alabama
Uh huh.
and was eventually going to try to get closer to home. And lo and behold, this became home.
Oh, yeah.
So this is where we chose to end our careers and get to know or let our kids um, be around us.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
got our first grandchild that was born
Oh,
last
my.
March. So we are those grandparents.
Congratulations. Yeah, that grandparenting is just wonderful.
Yes,
It's wonderful. We are happy that you decided to hang around. Making grows on you. There's such a lot of good stuff happening here.
it really does. And we've had the Better Business Bureau's had some growth too. When I took over in 2002, we were the Better Business Bureau of Central Georgia. We covered
Mm-hmm.
25 counties in the central part of the state. In 2004, we took in 16 counties over in the Augusta area.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, we changed our name to the Better Business Bureau of Central Georgia and the CSRA, which is Central Savannah River area. That's the area there. And then in 2017, we merged with the Columbus Better Business Bureau.
Uh-huh.
So now our BBB covers 77 counties
Oh,
across three different
my.
states. So we've got offices in Columbus, Macon, and Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a lot of windshield time.
I know you do.
Get to think a
Yeah.
lot. But it's interesting when you do the complaints and customer reviews and also the inquiries. All of our cities are very similar, and we can
Mm-hmm.
typically gauge what's going to be coming by if we start receiving calls in one area, we'll get those in another area pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, we're just happy to have you here, and you've contributed an awful lot to Macon Bibb County, and now to all these other areas. Now, you are out shopping, and someone has a mobile clinic set up to take blood pressures and glucose levels for Medicare recipients. The paperwork that you fill out requires Medicare information. Is it okay to provide this since you're benefiting from their service?
You really want to be sure that you know what you're going into. A lot of the mobile clinics, we saw those pop up a lot
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, and they would just set up on a street corner, and people would go in, fill out the information, and then next thing they know, they're getting bills from billing
Yeah.
departments they've never heard
Yeah.
of. So if you see a mobile clinic set up or a tent, and they're asking you for information, you want to find out where they're from. Is there a physical location that you can check and make sure that they are able to do what they're doing?
Yeah.
But just do some checking because we're so used to being polite and entering in everything.
Yeah. Yeah. We hate to say no to people.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they're asking for personal information, ask how are you going to use that? What are you going to do with it? And how are you going to protect it?
Mm. That's good. Okay. You're you see an infomercial on TV about a painless Botox lotion that is guaranteed to make your spouse look 15 years younger. You should immediately order 2 bottles and tell your husband that it is a new shave gel.
Yeah, I read that to a lot of senior groups that I go to, and they always say, "Yes, that's exactly what you do."
Mm,
But
mm,
you see the infomercials on television, and one of the things that we've seen so much in the past is that people will order something online, or they'll order it from an infomercial, and all you have to pay, you get two of them, and all you have to
mhm.
pay is shipping and handling. Well, they're getting that credit card information for
Uh-huh.
a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that reason is typically that you're opting into some type of subscription service. So you
That
may
never ends.
right, and
Uh-huh.
it's almost impossible to get out of. It's kind of like a timeshare from the
Mm-hmm.
70s and 80s. But when you give them that credit card information, you don't realize that you're opting into it until the next month you receive, what either another shipment of whatever
Mm-hmm.
you ordered,
Mm-hmm.
or we've seen where people will order um, a garden hose,
Mm-hmm.
and they would get the garden hose, and lo and behold, they'll start getting magazines over the next couple of
Mm-hmm.
months, and those are very difficult to stop, and they hit your credit card for
Oh
whether
yeah.
it be
Yeah.
29.99 or 89.99, they're going to
Mm-hmm.
charge your credit card monthly, and it's very difficult to get them stopped sometimes. So
Yeah.
just be aware they're asking. You're not getting anything for free. They're asking for that information for a reason.
That is one of the things I think that catches people because we all want something for free. And usually, if it's for free, it's a scam.
It it ends up costing you a lot, not in the
Yeah,
long run.
yeah. Mr. Engineer, are we supposed to see Beverly? We are. You're working on it. Ah, there she is. There's Beverly. Hey.
Can y'all hear
Uh,
me?
yes, real well.
I'm sorry.
Let's turn it down a little bit. They're working. They're working. We're not going to get all of our information in on scams, so we're going to have to do another show. So you just be on the alert for a call real soon. And Beverly, you too, because we're going to have to do this again. But we're going to go through this other 30 minutes of this on scams. Tell us what
Okay.
information. Um, okay, tell us the information about the scam that you were alerted to.
The other part of what I do is I'm a business consultant, and that came experience, Mr. Lucas. That came out of my experience through COVID about navigating the business world and making sure that you have a line with.
Loud.
Um, I'm
they're,
sorry.
they're trying to run me off of WT.
Should I
Oh,
turn my
goodness.
phone down? I turn my.
They're working on it. Okay. Now I can't hear. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm still not. I'm not hearing. I can't. Okay, y'all. Okay, Pastor Lisa says that it's fine for the listeners. They're able to hear. Beverly, let me hear.
Okay.
It's still kind of.
Can you hear me at all, Elaine?
It's very, very loud in our. Very loud.
Yeah, Beverly, we can hear you on Mars.
Yes, yes. Mars,
Okay.
Jupiter.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys tell me what to do.
Oh, that's
Because I can get it out
it's
in about.
it's just kind of breaking up. They're working. These guys know what they're doing. I know it's something that I've done. I know it is. I know it is. I don't even know what it is, but I'm still pleading the fifth, like my ex president. They're working on us. Yeah, it's breaking.
Beverly.
Yes,
Okay, Beverly, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead with what you were gonna tell us. We
Um,
can see you.
okay, here. I just would like for you to be able to hear too, Miss Lucas.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So, what I was saying was that I'm a business consultant and having to pivot my business, and I learned so much about uh, the benefits. So that's why I purposely dove into the small business administration. And back during COVID, there were a lot of programs that were promoted, particularly to benefit small business owners who had been impacted by COVID. There was a lot of fraud associated with the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. Some companies that weren't uh, entitled to file that part of the CARES Act, they did file. They did get money. Um, some people were made examples of, but that was the SBA. That's the Small Business Administration. What I'm seeing is an emergence of fraud, and I'm going to call it fraud, which in credit. Now, the employee retention credit was part of the CARES Act. It was right along with people, but it is a tax credit. It is designed for companies with few to employees. So if you're a company and you had 5 or more people who you employ, but as W-2s, and you pay payroll taxes for those employees, the our business, a tax credit, it's not a grant, it's a tax credit. So as a business that you had employees, which were W-2s, and you filed a 9 form that you report payroll taxes on. So all of this is documentation. It's just like anything to have documentation to support what you're filing. What's going on now? And I've seen it. I've seen it. I'm not making this up. I'm not guessing that is happening. Probably in our community, which is again unfortunate, where companies asking for an application fee, they're guaranteeing fees on a sliding scale, and the I guess business owner is falling for it. Now, those of us who understand business practices, you would not fall for something like this. But there probably is free money. I can get it. But you're dealing with the IRS, and the IRS that I would mess around with, and I'm not trying to be very passionate about it. Small business owners beware. Look ad. That's just asking for an EIN, which is an identification number.
Um, Beverly, we were having such a hard time. What we're going to do is just reschedule. We're going to have to work on this, and then next week we'll get you back. I think people got the essence of what you were saying, but that's just annoying to try and listen to what you're saying. So we're just going to we're gonna we'll put her contact information in the chat in just a minute, but we're going to go back to Mr. Collins. But please know that we will Beverly back in so she can tell you about that specific scam that deals with SBA. But Mr. Collins, before we go into some of these other things, would you tell us about this special program that's going to be that you've been working to set up?
Okay, on March the 6th, the Better Business Bureau is partnering with AARP, the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Unit, and the Federal Trade Commission to have just a informal lunch or informal learning session. Start to say lunch and learn, but there will not be lunch. Uh, but from at 10:30 on March the 6th at the Elaine Lucas Senior Center, um, we're going to and we'll get more information to you so that you can put it online. But seating is limited, but we want to get out there and answer some questions that people have. And many times you hear about scams, but until you really understand how they work, you're susceptible.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to do is make sure that we get the education piece out there so that people they kind of know how the scam works, and then when they get those phone calls, they don't fall for it immediately. Because when you receive a phone call, that's not the time to determine whether or not
Right.
you're going to do that, give the money or give the information. It's now, before you ever receive a call. What are you going to do when someone calls up and says that they are your grandchild? They've been arrested because they a DUI in another state, and
Yeah.
they need you to send them some bail money. And please don't tell mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
grandparent scam that's
Mm-hmm.
been around for a very long time. And I have some people say, "Oh, I could never fall for that." But these guys are really good at what they do. That's what they do on a daily basis. So they've gotten really good, and they will be able to convince you to provide them information, go out and get a gift card and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to what Beverly was talking about just a minute ago, she mentioned businesses. Businesses are targeted by scam artists all the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because many businesses, if you're a small business, you've got some checks and balances in place. But once you get a little bit larger, someone can call in and ask for the copier model number, and
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you get the toner delivered to your door, and you have you they start threatening you if you
Right.
don't pay for it and things like that. So businesses are targeted on a daily basis as well. And one of the things that we've seen over the years is businesses are more susceptible during the lunch hour, and that's when they're receiving those telephone calls, and the receptionist at some point has to go to
Yeah.
lunch. So
Yeah.
someone that's not familiar with all of um, the spam calls that you get throughout the day, they might give out information that a business owner doesn't want given
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a little tidbit of information there.
It is just you have to kind of be suspicious.
Hmm.
You have to, in this day and age, you have to develop a little bit of a suspicious nature because there are so many people who are in this business of scamming people. They're not just in our country, in our state, in our country, but they're overseas pulling these. You receive an email that promises you this, that, and the other, or somebody has some money, you've inherited some money, that's the one.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that they still use that, but you've inherited some money, and all you got to do is, in order for me to trust you with getting your portion of this money, you got to send me some. Well, I mean, that you would think that people would say, "Oh no, they're trying to get my money and I'll never see." But there are so many hundreds of thousands of people that get tricked.
Yeah, they wouldn't be doing that if it weren't effective for them. And that same Nigerian prince that was sending you letters
Oh
in the
yeah.
70s and 80s
Yeah.
and then started faxing in the 90s, now they're sending emails and contacting you on social media. I did an interview with AARP Magazine a couple weeks ago, and the lady asked me how have scams changed over the years, and it kind of surprised her. But I said, there's not been a new scam in 20 years.
Mm,
It's just
mm.
a new twist on something that's been out there for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing about now is in the 70s, when they were calling you up and you could get law enforcement involved, they had to have a phone line going somewhere so you could track that down.
Uh-huh.
Now they can be in another country. They can have
Yeah.
a local 478 area code, and they can be calling you via Google Voice or a disposable cell phone. use it for a couple weeks, throw it away, get another one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really beneficial. The internet has made things easier, but
Oh,
it's made
yeah.
things very easy for scam artists.
Yeah. Scam expert panel discussion. It's going to be at the E.H. Lucas Senior Center in Carolyn Creighton Park, March the 6th, 10:30 a.m. So it says there's limited seating. And so can they go on the Better Business Bureau um, Facebook page,
Yeah,
website?
you can go to the Better Business Bureau Facebook page. You can also go to bbb.org and go into our events, and there's a place where you can register there. And you can always call the Better Business Bureau
Hmm.
and talk to one of our operators, and they'll.
Yeah, and I'm going to share this on my Facebook page for you. There are a number of different kinds of scams in all these different areas. You might not think. Now, I mentioned to you about the business, and that's what Beverly was talking about too. But there are just so many different kinds of scams. They're the grant scams
Mhm.
we were just talking about. There's the grandchildren scam where somebody calls you up and like you described. And so tell us about some of those other kinds of scams. And people really need to read everything. If you get some paperwork, read all of it.
Mhm.
Or if you have a hard time with it, get somebody to read it for you and explain it to you before you do anything with it. And if somebody calls you and you don't feel real good about something, have them call you back. Tell them to call you back, and then you get somebody else to intervene for you. Rhonda Bird says, sorry to say, and so embarrassed to say, I was scammed a few years back. You live and learn. I was able to rescue my daughter from being scammed because I was familiar with their language. It's
Mhm.
real. Um, yeah, and Pastor Lisa says, yes, you get help if you don't understand. Call somebody that you trust. And our statistician Patrick has posted in the chat some information as to scam alerts. He's posted that. And talking about verification codes, how they work, and how to avoid them, and all of that. And thank you so much, Patrick, for all that you do in giving us reference points for topics that we have on here. Let's go back and finish up with the different kinds of scams that you were talking about.
Okay, and touching on what the lady just said, you I talk to people all the time that say, "Oh, I feel so foolish
Yeah.
that I lost money to this," and they don't want to tell anyone.
Hmm.
But they are very good, and any of us can fall for a scam. So it's not something to hang your head over. It's something to learn from. And the BBB did a study several years ago about what makes people more susceptible to scams,
Hmm.
and number one, it's when you interact with them. I mean, if
Hmm.
you get a Facebook message and you just close it out and delete it, you're not going to lose money. But
Right.
once you start um, relating to that
They're
person,
expert at drawing you
exactly.
in, but and keeping you on the phone. So yeah.
Yeah, and also that having that person just to bounce things off of. One of the things we found were single people were more susceptible to scams because they didn't have that person. I mean, how many times, I know I do it all the time, I have this great idea that runs through my head, and then when it comes out my mouth, I realize, oh, that's not that great of an idea.
Hmm.
Or my wife says, that's stupid.
Hmm.
So have that person to bounce things
Yeah.
off of, whether it's a friend, whether it's the Better Business Bureau, call us, bounce things off of us, because sometimes our staff, they hear things all day long, but when that person's calling us, that's the first time they've heard it. So
Hmm.
being able to relay that information to consumers is a valuable
Oh, yeah.
avenue.
Yeah. And look, if it sounds too good and somebody's offering you something free, people don't give away stuff. Just think about it and say, let me check this out. Let me think about this. And if you have legitimately won some prize money or something like that, they'll get in touch with you. They'll get in touch with you, but don't send your hard-earned money and just never get it back. Pastor Lisa said, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually
It
is,
usually
and
is.
that is right. People are not giving stuff away. So, okay.
Okay, some of the other things that you want me to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things that we see a lot of still is a tech support scam.
Mm-hmm.
This is when you get that telephone call saying that it's Ricky with Microsoft and your
Mm-hmm. Or
computer
Geek
has a,
Squad or
yeah,
something like that.
so
Mm-hmm.
your computer has this virus, and if they can't get it resolved, they're going to have to turn your internet connection off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anybody that's ever called a tech support department knows that you call and you wait and wait and wait and wait. They don't
Forever.
call you.
Yeah.
So when you get this call, don't let it surprise you. Always take some time and say, well, why would Microsoft or Geek Squad or some
Mm-hmm.
of these, they use names that people are going to remember. Why
Right.
would they be calling me? Because I assure you, your little computer is not something that these large companies are going to call. And when you receive that call and you provide them with access to your computer, they'll get you to click on a link
Oh, yeah.
or something, and they can drive your computer. And when they get access, they'll go in and show a lot of files and say, "See all these files? These are viruses,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll delete those."
Mm-hmm.
Well, lo and behold, they delete those, then your computer doesn't work,
Uh-huh.
but they can fix it for a fee.
Oh, yeah. Of
And
course.
and then there's others where they just want you to download some spyware onto your
Mm-hmm.
computer, and it's going to start tracking your username, passwords, and things like that. So
Right.
just be very cautious on links that you click and people that you allow to guide you to different
Hmm.
websites.
They're online. If you go and Google some things, Google a topic, you'll see some items posted that will say ad.
Hmm.
And I would strongly suggest that you leave those alone because more than likely they're going to end up with you having to buy something, and many of them you go it takes you through all of this different stuff, and then they hit you with, and you can get this monthly for this monthly
Right.
fee, and this for this and this for this, and you're trapped.
Hmm.
You're trapped, and if you give them access to your computer, then you really they can get in there and manipulate stuff, take your money, take a whole lot of other things. And it is. Are you back, Beverly?
Yes, I'm
Welcome
back.
back. Oh, they did it. They did it, didn't they? Thank you.
Uh,
We're glad to see you back. Doesn't she look like me? That's my baby sister.
Yes, she does.
That's my baby sister. Yeah, she's retired. She is retired
yeah.
from Homeland Security, and has her own glory cakes, and many people have tasted her mouth-watering. Haven't y'all engineers eaten some of her? I know they have. They've had
I
some
think they have.
cupcakes and things. Mr. Collins is here with Better Business Bureau. I don't know whether you heard me introduce him,
Hmm.
but you want to very quickly tell us a little bit more about what your the scam that you became aware of, what that's about, and what the solution is. And Calvin, you jump in there too.
Okay.
Yes, I've been enjoying Mr. Collins. I've been able to hear, but you guys weren't able to hear me, so I just kept working at it. But really quickly, what I was going over initially was that there was a scam earlier, and all this related to COVID and the programs that were designed to help small businesses get through COVID, the ones that were impacted, and everything and everybody was impacted by COVID. And I just want to reflect back on the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. There was a program put in place by the SBA, the Small Business Administration, for businesses who kept employees on payroll during COVID. There was some fraud associated with that. There was a scam that went around where some businesses claimed PPP, which they weren't entitled to it. They got money. Some of them got caught. Some of them were made an example of. But that was the SBA. Now, this newest scam, it's also another CARES Act program. It's called the Employee Retention Credit, and it is a tax credit. And it's always been there right along with PPP, but the focus more so was on PPP because the banks made commissions off of all of those loans. This is not a loan, it's not a grant, it is a tax credit. So any business that was in place during COVID, particularly 2020 and 2021, who had in their very specific requirements, they had to have had 5 or more W-2 employees. That means you get a W-2 at the end of the year, not a 1099, and that's a contractor. So if they had 5 or more W-2 employees during 20 and 21, and they filed a 941, which is where businesses record their payroll taxes paid, then they can apply for this credit with the IRS. They put it there, and there should never be an application fee. Any fees that are collected should be contingent upon whether or not that applicant actually gets their refund from the IRS. So it's a back end thing if any fees are collected. And it's a 6-month process. So it's not a you file and 30 days later you're going to get money. No, that's not dealing with the IRS. But that's what the draw is from this scam that I've seen myself with my own 2 eyes on 3 occasions where people have shared with me, oh, well, what are you talking about? Because they've asked me about it because I do know about it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Send me what you're talking about. And it really grieves me to see people taking advantage of other people. And I don't know if we should always test the spirit on things. We should always test if it's too good to be true. This is definitely one of those things. Well, at least I think the people who were impacted thought enough to ask somebody else. And that's when I said, no, you don't want to do this because you're messing with the IRS. You might want to mess with anything other than the IRS because it is asking for a social security number. So even when people are being involved and participating in this fraudulent activity, you're giving up your social security number. So you can't plead the fifth on any level because you are willingly submitting your social security number. And if you do this, if you're involved in this, if you see it, run. Do not fall for anything where a company is asking you, number one, for an application fee. That's your first red flag. If they are giving blanket quotes, well, if I'm gonna get you $340,000. My fee is $18,000. I saw this today. I saw it today. My fee is $18,000 plus an application fee. So, like I said, I'm passionate about it because it's happening. It's real. It's out there. It's being spread around. You may see a Facebook ad, and I know three who came to me and asked me about it. So that's probably a drop in the bucket for the number of people who are perpetuating this. But number one is fraud. Don't ask the question. Like Mr. Collins said, it's a hard no. You know, don't even fall for it. If you cannot produce payroll records, if you didn't have employees, if you didn't even, one of them even said, if you didn't have an EIN, we can provide you with an EIN. So don't get pulled into stuff like that. It's just not worth it. So that's what I wanted to warn people about. And I don't know if it's anybody who just wants to say they had a business and didn't have a business, but particularly the people who did have a business, don't fall for something like this.
Well, we certainly appreciate that information. Now, we need to talk about a little bit more about avoiding what you need to do if you're in doubt about stuff. If it sounds too good, it more than likely is. And who needs an extra bunch of magazines and stuff that never stop? I mean, if it's too good, and the little gift that you may be offered or whatever, don't fall for this stuff. Let's talk about avoiding getting taken advantage of. What are some of the things that we need to be? Um, I say we just have to be skeptical about and very aware of what's going on. And it's a shame that it's that way now, that you just cannot be as trusting as people have been in the past. That's just the way things are. So, what would you all say are some other things that people need to develop in order to keep from being taken advantage of?
One of the things that Beverly said just a few minutes ago was test the spirit. Um, a similar way to put that is go with your gut, because everybody that I talk with that falls for some type of scam, they'll say, it just didn't feel right.
Hmm.
I just didn't have a good feeling. And that's that inner spirit uh, keeping that experience is telling you that this is not right.
Hmm.
And so go with that, and don't go against your gut, but also share it with someone. We talk
Hmm.
about that. I
Hmm.
can't say
Hmm.
enough how important it is just to share with someone
Right.
before you give up that
Right.
money.
Okay. Better Business Bureau is there. That's available. Um, the police department, they hear, when I had to prove that I had not taken out the loan, I had to get a police report.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the young lady who took the information, it was just like everyday stuff. It
Yeah.
wasn't any big surprises or anything. I thought I was telling her something, but it was not a surprise to her at all. They hear from people all the time. So check the police department if in doubt. And if somebody is honest, they're not going to have a problem with you checking with
That,
somebody.
that's very true. And also, how are they wanting you to pay?
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
something
Right
that's
away. They want your money right away. They want you to go right to the bank right now, or they want your card number right now.
or they're going to
Yeah.
get you to a convenience store or a big box store and get a gift card, because that's just like giving them cash.
Hmm.
Trust me, the IRS does not take iTunes gift cards. That is not a valid way to pay.
Right.
But you would be surprised at people that get calls saying that they owe the IRS and they're going to issue a
Uh
warrant
huh.
for their
Uh
arrest
huh.
if they don't pay.
Let's talk about our seniors, folks who are, there are some people who are by themselves.
Mhm.
They want attention. Somebody calls and they start talking to them. A lot of our elderly get caught in scams. They're lonely. They want to talk to somebody. They get offered stuff, and then
Hmm.
these folks keep talking, and they get taken.
Yeah.
So, what would y'all say?
Well,
That,
see, you always hear that seniors are, the highest uh, percentage of scam victims, and that's true to a great extent. But what we see is the very tip of the iceberg,
mm-hmm,
because for every consumer or senior citizen that reports something, I've talked to three that they do not want to report it because they
mm-hmm,
don't want their kids to think, mama's giving her money away. I better
mm-hmm,
take her checkbook
mm-hmm,
away. And so they're not reporting those things. But seniors are more susceptible because, number one, they're probably going to be at home if that
mm-hmm,
person calls,
mm-hmm.
or if they come by door to door scams. They probably have a little more disposable income that they've built up over time, and they're lonely.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
someone that comes by and they're from the utility company,
Mm-hmm,
supposedly.
mm-hmm,
Uh, a senior citizen is going to give them the time. And the one thing I've always said that people need to remember is they own their telephone and they own their front door.
mm-hmm.
And you do not have to let someone take advantage of
That's
you
true.
through the phone or through your front door.
That's
Shut the
true.
door, hang up. So those are two things
Hmm.
that you can always
And
do.
if you've got older folks who, you have a responsibility to check on them and see if they've had some stuff, some people approach them, some calls. If they're on the computer, ask them, kind of check on emails and things like that. So
Yeah.
those are things that you have to do. Beverly, you have some other things you want to
No,
share?
well, I would say I appreciate that. And this was just in conversation because the business owners did not come to me about the program. They came to me because they had heard about it. And I guess they were a little bit skeptical. And so they asked me. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I tried not to show that, wow, this I think one person said he was about to do it and then he didn't. I was like, well, no. And you're talking about $750,000 just for an application fee. But I'm not. I'll answer your question more directly. But I just had to get that out about the level that people are being taken. $750,000 is a good sizable amount of money just in hopes of getting back $340,000. It's just so out of line.
Hmm.
But it's popular, it's going around. So undoubtedly, you'll probably see it on somebody's Facebook. But for seniors, definitely use your resources, reach out to somebody. And that's what these business owners did. They actually reached out to somebody. Like Mr. Collins's agency, or even a senior center. If you go to a senior center, that's like, okay, have you heard about this? Kind of like spread the word. You might hear it, but say, okay, I'm gonna look into it, or do not participate as a senior in anything just right off the bat.
Hmm.
Let it go past somebody else who validates it or invalidates it. But yeah, I would say just talk to people in casual conversation, and somebody who is knowledgeable will be able to kind of set the record straight on that. And I told somebody today, the same person that shared it with me, I'm like, you do not want to get involved in that, and and at your own risk, you can get involved in it. Even though you're a third party, you're still involved because that person facing jail, they're going to say who involved them in the scam in the first place.
Yeah.
So don't think that there's a scot free, I'm just going to introduce you to this and I'm going to get my money and step out.
Right.
No, because you're involved in a scam.
Yeah. Well, these people are breaking the law. And they're taking advantage of people who are vulnerable. They're taking advantage of people because they know people are kind of sympathetic. And so there's somebody out there that you just have to be wary of. If it feels like it's too good to be true, it probably is. Don't fall for it. Don't give folks your hard earned money. Don't give them access to your social security number and date of birth. Those two things, that's all they need
That's
to,
all they need. Yeah.
go buy a car, buy whatever they want. So just guard those things. Those are your personal numbers and you need to guard them. Y'all, I'm I've got another event I've got to go to, and so this station owes us, and they have offered to give us another 30 minutes, but we won't do it today. I am going to invite the two of you back in 2 weeks and we will have an extended Ask Elaine. It will be an hour and a half. Hopefully, we can work that out. I'm sure they'll work that out with us since we've been smiling through all of this today. We've been real cool, real cool. But we're going to come back. This is so important, and people are being taken advantage of,
Yeah, it
and
is important.
nobody has a right to steal from somebody else. They do not have that right. So we're going to try and put a stop, at least give you the information you need in order to avoid being taken advantage of. So in 2 weeks, we're going to have another. Now, next week, we're going to have DA Nita Reynolds Howard on for the hour. We've already scheduled her, or we would have it on next week. But in 2 weeks, we are going to have these folks back if they will please honor us by coming back. We are going to have them to come back and talk more about scams. And we're going to talk about all some more of the different kinds of scams that are out there trying to
Yeah.
take people take advantage of you. So, listen, we've got to go. Thank you so much, those who've tuned in on AM, FM, and those who are here on Facebook Live. Y'all, if I will be entering this information about the uh, March 6th special summit session panel discussion that's at the Senior Center in Carolyn Creighton Park. We'll be providing that information. You can go ahead and sign up for that. So, in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning
Yes.
in. Um, we just enjoyed having you there. We're sorry for the problems, but we'll see you again next Wednesday
Okay. Love the platform.
of Ask Elaine.